You're listening to the B- Podcast. On today's show, a review of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. The B- Podcast starts right now. Hello, no one, and welcome to the B- Podcast, the slightly above average podcast of opinions, reviews, previews, and randomness about sports, movies, TV, and sometimes video games related to the week or weekend that was. I am the B and B-. My name is Brett, and welcome to the inaugural B- Podcast. Hopefully this will be the start of something fun for everyone. Hey, that rhymed. On today's show, I'm going to have a bit of a non-spoiler and a bit of a spoiler review for Warner Brothers' attempt to launch their comic book cinematic universe, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. You gotta say that title like that to make it sound more exciting. I'm not a big shot film critic. This is my first movie review that I'm ever recording. I'm not good at it. I'm a fan. I know fan things about movies. I don't know professional things about movies like cinematography, script writing, good acting. I can say if I liked a performance. I can't say if it was good or not, depending on what maybe the Academy looks at for good acting, but I just know when I like somebody's performance. I saw this movie last night at about 11:15 at an IMAX theater. It was a breathtaking movie to watch. I'll get into more of that when I get into the actual review. But I will say this, about 15 or so minutes into the review, I'll get into a little bit more spoiler territories and what I liked and didn't like about certain aspects of the movie that might be considered spoilers that you might not want to hear if you haven't gone and seen the movie yet. So, this is the second to last warning. I'll give another warning right before I'm about to start spoiling things. But, I'm going to talk about some things that people were definitely excited to see in this movie. I'll start by establishing where I stood on Man of Steel. I like Man of Steel. There's such a divide between people who hate it and people who like that movie. I'm on the side that I like the movie. I thought it was a good Superman story. I thought that Zod was a perfect villain to have to start the Superman story, to have somebody, like Zod be the antagonist to Clark's protagonist. And that's all. I won't get into certain things that people didn't like about that movie because it's been talked about for 3 years now. That's how long we've had to wait for this. But now, to the reason why we're all here, my initial reaction to Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice was that, it's a good movie. I can't deny it. It's a good movie. I'm not going to say that the critics are wrong by giving it a 30% on Rotten Tomatoes right now. It might deserve that 30% on Rotten Tomatoes right now. I don't think it does. But then again, I'm not a film critic. I'm a fan. And the way that things have looked so far, the fans love the movie. The critics are a little bit more critical on the movie because it's sloppy. And it's not what I specifically wanted out of this movie. I either wanted an early fight between Batman and Superman, and then we literally get into some Dawn of Justice stuff for a good chunk of the movie, or I wanted a Batman vs. Superman movie that teased the Justice League at the very end, and I think that both were not hit. And I'll get into more of that in spoiler territory, but that's just my early reaction, is that not enough. There was both a combination of either not enough Justice League teasing in the movie and not enough Batman vs. Superman in the movie. So, early on, without getting into spoilers, the first thing I'll say is that the beginning of this movie is so slow. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. I didn't dislike the movie because it's a slow beginning. I wasn't bored. There's just a lot of character development because we're getting introduced to so many new characters and still building on a slightly fresh character of Superman and Clark Kent. The beginning starts off. Here's Bruce during the Man of Steel fight. This is what's happening. And then it's a flash forward to present day, or what they call present day, and Bruce is on his own mission. And it's a little confusing what that mission is. It takes him a lot of steps to figure it out. And there's also a lot of kind of Man of Steel sequel stuff in there where here's what Superman's been up to basically since, and he's saving the day for certain people. He's saving the day for Lois Lane when he has to. And it's not a lot of action in this movie when the trailers are just action, 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 action. And that slow build was a little surprising and a little draining on my opinions of the movie. I'll stick to the kind of storyline aspect of this review, if you want to call it a review. I watch a lot of good, smart people on YouTube, like the Schmoes, Christian and Mark, Collider Video, Jeremy Johns, Chris Stuckman. Those are really the guys that I go to the most for movie reviews because I respect their opinion and I feel like they are similar to me. And a lot of things that they were saying is that the story is a little back and forth as far as editing goes. They jump between Clark, Lex, Bruce, Clark, Lex, Clark, Bruce, and it's just a lot of jumping back and forth between their individual stories. At times they tie in together, but they don't tie in enough for all of the back and forth action to keep me hooked. And something else that I don't know if they all brought it up. I don't know if one of them brought it up. I know I heard it from one of those guys that I watch on YouTube, that their motivations seem to be a little vague on why everybody wants to be doing what they're doing. I don't know exactly why Lex is scheming. And a little bit of it is revealed at the end, but I'm not sure if it's more my opinion of what his motivations are. I still don't understand what Lex is doing, but it's what I think he's doing. It's what I think why he's doing it, but it's hard to figure out specifically motivations for him. Motivations for Superman are really non-existent. I think he's just trying to live his life the way he thought he should do it with the powers that he has, and that because people don't like him, he just feels like he has to defend himself. It's hard to figure out what Clark's supposed to be doing the whole time. I'm going to jump away from the negative a little bit. I've been talking a little bit of negative stuff. I'm going to get into the positives, where a lot of people have been saying this. Ben Affleck is good as Batman, and people have been saying he was great as Batman. I didn't see enough. Batman and Bruce Wayne, really, he's good. I don't know if I saw enough of him as both characters to establish that he's great. I think there's more of greatness in his Bruce Wayne character than his Batman, but the Batman is still really cool. People are always going to rank Keaton, Christian Bale, Ben Affleck, and I'm not going to be able to rank them who's better, who's worse, but I think Ben Affleck is definitely he was definitely a good choice for that role. And I think that moving forward, he will continue to be a good choice for that role. Henry Cavill is good as Superman. I don't know if there's still not enough development of what's going on with him. He's just a character that I'm just here to save the day. I'm not trying to hurt anybody, but people think I am. That's a lot of his character, and you can see a little bit of conflict in his acting. Like, you can see that he's conflicted internally, and that's good acting by Henry Cavill's part. I just don't think that they're developing Superman well enough for us to be so invested in him. A couple other the secondary character performances that I really like. Amy Adams is always going to be good at what she does. She's a good Lois Lane. I think that, again, something that the writers and Snyder are doing with Lois Lane don't make sense to a character like Lois Lane. I'll get into that in spoiler territory. It's towards the end of the movie. I don't get it, but it happened. Lawrence Fishburne's really good as Perry White. I think that the more Perry White we see, the more attached we get to that Daily Planet world. He's funny. He throws out a Smallville reference. He calls Clark Smallville, which is, I think it was a good kind of nod to the TV show, and Lois would always call Clark Smallville, but it was a funny little line there. Jeremy Irons is great as Alfred. I loved it. The back and forth between Bruce and Alfred was great. He was you could tell how tech savvy Alfred was, and he was also he was quick on the quips towards Bruce, because it's just they've been together for so long now, and they've been working as a team. When Bruce has been Batman for, I think they mentioned it's been like 20 years that he's been Batman, so they've been doing this for a while, and you can tell that Alfred's used to it by now. He's got lines ready to either try and shut Batman up or put him in his place, and it's a good 1-2 punch that they have there, and he played it well. And the controversial too, that everybody has been talking about, whether it was casting, once the castings were made in the trailers, or once the reviews have come out about the movie. I'm going to start off with the fact that I liked the way Jesse Eisenberg played Lex Luthor. Did I have some issues with his character, a lot like some of the other characters? Yeah. There are certain things about Lex Luthor that turn you off about him, but I think that that's kind of the point. And I think Jesse Eisenberg did it well. And there are certain things about the character you could tell there's something in there. There's kind of an anger and a hatred that kind of plays off, and I think Eisenberg really showed that well. I don't know if people just hate the character or if they really hate Jesse Eisenberg's performance. I liked both. I don't know where they're moving forward with his character, but I liked it for what this movie was. And then Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman was average. Not in the movie very much. Not enough to tell if she's good at it or not. But I think anybody could have played that role. I shouldn't say anybody. Any talented actress in Hollywood could have played that role. Now, moving forward, is that going to help the Wonder Woman movie that she was kind of a cool character in this movie? Probably. Are people going to be surprised if she's bad as Wonder Woman in the Wonder Woman movie? I don't think people are going to be surprised about it. I think people will be like, oh, well, she's been in Fast and Furious movies. She's been in, what else has she been in? I don't know what else she's been in. That's the point. She doesn't have a long resume. So I don't know if she's going to be good or not in the Wonder Woman movie, but she was good enough in this movie for it to be cool to see Wonder Woman on a movie. And kind of jumping back to motivations, I don't know why she was in the movie, besides the fact that, hey, Wonder Woman hasn't been in a movie, fans want to see her, let's do it. Because she tells Bruce, I'm looking for a picture, and that's basically it until we find out what the picture is. And we still don't know why she's looking for the picture, but she's looking for it. And hey, if you find it, great, and then I'll leave town. So, I'm about 15 minutes into this review. I'm going to jump into spoilers. And it's going to be some more negative stuff, but there's some cool stuff in here too. I don't know. My thoughts are all jumbled. I didn't take notes. I wish I had, since I feel like, talking about this movie, but a lot of stuff will jump back and forth. I think that the first thing I'll talk about in regards to spoilers is that I don't think there's enough Batman and Superman in this movie, together or separate. There's not a lot of those two characters in the movie. There's plenty of Bruce, there's plenty of Clark. I don't think there's enough of Superman and Batman doing the things that make them heroes. There's a quick little montage of Clark saving the day in separate scenarios, but that's it. And there's one early scene of Batman interrogating some villains to try and get some information about a character that they're calling the White Portuguese. And that's about it. There's one cool Batmobile scene where he's trying to chase down some kryptonite. But then again, that's not much Batman. That's just the Batmobile scene. So, that's another issue of mine that goes into spoilers. You don't really see Batman and Superman that much. It's a lot of just, Clark, Bruce, hey, Batman's turn, Superman's turn, over to Lex, more Clark and Bruce, separate but never together until that Batmobile scene when you see Superman show up and knock the Batmobile aside. That's really the only conversation they have before they fight each other. It's short, a minute long. Not a lot of point to it. They should have definitely had those characters together before they fought each other. Another part that we saw in the trailers was the dream sequence where Batman's in the desert fighting Superman soldiers. It's cool. It looks cool. It's a lot of action, but we know it's a dream. It's obvious that it's a dream. And then there's subtle hints to Darkseid. I don't know how or why Batman is essentially hallucinating about the Omega symbol and parademons, but he is, so that's all that matters, I guess. As far as they're hinting towards the future villain, but once that dream sequence ends, you think Batman wakes up and there's somebody yelling at him and a bunch of lightning. And I made the connection, as most people should, that's Barry Allen, the Flash, yelling at him. He's yelling something. It was hard to make out. Something about Lois Lane and something about him being right. Again, it's confusing. I don't understand where it's coming from. Is that future Barry traveling back in time? Is that future Barry traveling through dimensions? I don't get it. But then he wakes up again. Batman does. And I'm still left wondering what is it? What is he telling him something that's real? Is Batman still dreaming it and it's not real? What is going on at this point? Because at that point, Bruce hasn't unlocked any secrets about metahumans, which literally happens right after he wakes up from that. He has a file from LexCorp that has a folder that says metahumans on it, and there's a file and there's that picture that Wonder Woman's looking for of her from 1918 in what's probably going to be part of the Wonder Woman movie during World War I. So that's the picture she's looking for. Why does she need it? Why is she worried that Lex has it? Who knows? There's also logos for Cyborg, Aquaman, and the Flash in that folder. Bruce ends up sending that file to Wonder Woman in an email, of all things. And Wonder Woman looks at these videos. You see Ezra Miller as the Flash save a store owner from getting robbed. You see Aquaman underwater. And what I thought was a cool scene, but I wanted more of Aquaman. I really wanted more of Aquaman. That was one of the things I was really excited about. But Aquaman's underwater in a sunken ship, and divers find him, and he swims away really fast. It's cool. I'm kind of excited about the idea of an Aquaman movie, but that's all we get. And then you see Ray Fisher's dad trying to save him. He died somehow, I guess. Either that or Vic Stone was never a person before he was Cyborg. He was just something that whatever his dad's name is, just an idea that his dad had, and that's basic. And there's a quick creation of Cyborg, and that's all we get of Cyborg. So those Justice League cameos were a little underwhelming. We didn't see a lot of it, and I kind of wish that if you're gonna give us some Justice League stuff, I would have liked more, because of the lack of amount of Batman versus Superman that we really got, and that's where I'll go next. The fight. I would have wanted this Batman versus Superman fight. If this movie's going to be 2.5 hours long, I really would have wanted that fight to be about hour 15 into the movie. Right in the center. Because it gives you time to set up more Justice League stuff. Which people would have loved. People would have eaten it up to see more Justice League stuff. And it gives you time to set up that secondary villain of Doomsday, which I'll get more to later. But the Batman vs. Superman fight literally happens, I'd say, close to 2 hours, probably closer to between 2 hours into the movie and an hour 45 into the movie, right in that time frame. And they fight, and it's a great fight. It looks cool. Batman kicks some serious ass against Superman with the help of a kryptonite smoke grenade. But then, and here was going back to my problems with things that Lois Lane's character does. She just decides that I'm going to take a helicopter to where Batman and Superman are fighting. Hopefully I'm going to get there in time to convince them to stop fighting. But if that doesn't work, what the hell's going to happen to Lois Lane? Luckily, she shows up right as Clark says something that snaps Batman into some sort of flashback because their moms have the exact same name. So that worked out, but Lois gets there, helps convince Batman that they shouldn't be fighting, that they should be on the same team. They're on the same team. There's a little bit of stuff that Batman has to do before we get to the Doomsday fight at the end. And then here comes Doomsday. Now, I'm going to talk a lot about how Doomsday happened, why he happened, and why I think it was just a waste of a great character and storyline. So, during this entire movie, you start to notice that Lex Luthor is kind of puppeteering certain things into happening. He's puppeteering the public into hating Superman, into questioning Superman. He's even puppeteering Bruce Wayne's hatred towards Superman. It's cool. I think that Lex Luthor acting as a puppet master behind the scenes in such a maniacal way works for that character. And the reveal of it was pretty cool. But I need to know how he knew that taking Zod's fingerprints would give him access to Zod's ship, because that happens. He uses a little tiny piece of kryptonite, slices off Zod's fingerprints, and uses them to access the ship. How does he know to do that? That's problem number one. Problem number two is, how does he know that taking Zod's dead body, and this literally happened, so huge spoilers, taking Zod's body into some, whatever kind of liquid is in Zod's wrecked ship, how does he know that taking his body, putting some of his own blood, this is Lex's blood, putting Lex's blood with Zod's body into this liquid will turn him into some beast freak that he just so happened to coincidentally call Doomsday as he's about to fight Superman? But how does he know to do that? It's never explained. It's just, I think they just expected us to be like, okay, he knows how to make Doomsday because movie science, right? Movie alien science, to be more specific. He just knows how to do it because movies. I don't buy it, and it's lazy, and I was just like, alright, I guess they're going to fight Doomsday now. And the one good thing I'll say about Doomsday is it was a scary, scary Doomsday. He looked kind of silly. At a certain point, he looked like King Kong. But he was a scary villain. I was like, whoa. A lot of the times I was watching this movie during the Doomsday fight. But, and then two things with this Doomsday fight. Batman completely overmatched against something like Doomsday, and he knows it, and I knew it as a moviegoer, and Snyder knew it, and the writers knew it. Because what does Batman do basically for the entire Doomsday fight? Run away from Doomsday. It's fine. I don't expect Batman to be able to hang with Doomsday. I don't. But if you were going to say all Batman does during that fight is run away, use his grapple hook, and shoot one of those kryptonite smoke grenades at him, I'd be a little disappointed that Batman didn't do a little bit more. But again, he doesn't have any powers. What else is he going to do? Wonder Woman, like most people have said on Twitter, Wonder Woman got one of the biggest cheers of the night when she showed up during that fight. Her action was cool. She used her sword well, and the lasso of truth showed up, which I was kind of surprised at, but hey, gotta stay true to the comics, I guess. And that's a great segue into staying true to the comics to what I think was a huge waste of the Doomsday character and the main Doomsday storyline that happens in Superman comic books. Because when I think Doomsday, as most people who know comic books think of Doomsday, is the death of Superman. Now, did I think they were going to do it in this movie? No. When I saw Doomsday in the trailer, did I think it was more of a possibility? Sure. But with their plans down the road of Justice League Part 1, Justice League Part 2, big cinematic universe where these characters are going to be big moving down the line, are you going to kill off Superman basically at the start of that? No. But what ends up happening, they have a kryptonite spear that Batman was going to use on Superman. Lois Lane is there, which she should have been murdered during that fight. She's literally almost in the middle of the fight, and no harm whatsoever. She almost drowns, but Superman saves her. Whatever. She shouldn't have been there. It was a waste. If she was going to be there, she should have died. But explaining what happens, biggest spoilers, Superman takes that kryptonite spear. He's like, I'm basically the only one who's going to be able to do this. I got this. So he takes it, gets Doomsday with it, but then Doomsday gets a shot with a stab, and there goes Superman. He's laying on the ground. He's dead. We have a funeral for Superman. We have a funeral for Clark. The Doomsday fight was cool, but wasted. Literally 15 minutes of the movie, you're going to give me Doomsday and the death of Superman, which are great stories. Waste. You wasted my time. And you especially wasted my time when the literal last shot of the movie, after Lois Lane drops some dirt on a Clark's casket, you see some dirt rising. Fade to black. It might have actually been a cut to black, but I don't know. But dirt starts rising off of Clark's casket right before they end the movie. And I was just like, oh, so you're going to give me Doomsday, death of Superman, and Superman's not dead, probably in the last 20 to 30 minutes of the movie, and you're gonna ask me to accept that, like, okay, Justice League's gonna be cool now because everything's fine. Why? Why did you have to show me all of that in this movie if you were gonna wait to show me Batman versus Superman like an hour and 45 minutes into the movie? It's part of what frustrates me, but I still think it's a good movie. It's so weird that I have such an anger towards the ending, but I still think it's a good movie. But one of the cool parts of the ending was that Bruce feels that he failed Superman as a person, which I don't know if he failed. How can he feel that he failed Superman when they were really only friends for, about a day? Or, I'd say about an hour before Clark died, they were friends. So it was weird that he felt that he failed him, but it's cool that it seems like the reason that the Justice League is going to form is to honor Clark and, get these metahumans to fight together to what he expects that they're going to run into some higher threat, and it's very much teased in more Darkseid stuff with a photo or a painting in Lex Luthor's mansion, but it's the ending was cool as far as the Batman setup to the Justice League, but the death of Superman's Doomsday ending is just so rushed and so frustrated that I wish there would have been either a Batman vs Superman movie or a Dawn of Justice movie, which the Dawn of Justice movie could have been Superman all in one movie. But hey. They rushed because they had nearly 3 years between Man of Steel and this movie to maybe have another solo Batman movie and possibly Wonder Woman. They didn't have the time. I didn't rush anything at all. And sense by sarcasm. But at the end of the day, I'd give this movie an average rating. I'm gonna go with the letter grade rating scale. And ironically, or coincidentally, my first ever review rating on the B- podcast is going to be a B- for Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. It hit on a lot of things that were cool. Some storytelling issues were there. I thought the acting was good. The ending frustrated me. And a lot of things were rushed. That's it for the review. And that'll do it for the first B- podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to try to have this podcast go out twice a week with Friday shows covering big news of the week with sports, movies, TVs, and occasionally video games. If there's a big movie release like this week, I'll cover mainly the movie review in my podcast, and I think I'm going to do the same thing on the Flash TV show finale for Season 2. That's really the only show I keep up with, and if I had cable and watched it on Tuesdays, I might review it on Tuesdays, but I watch it on Hulu. I usually wait until Wednesday to watch it. Sometimes I wait until later if I'm busy. So I'll recap episodes. I'll recap this week's episode in my next podcast, which will probably go out on Monday. But I'll recap the episodes leading up to the finale on Friday shows. And the Flash TV finale might get its own special episode on the week that it ends. Monday shows, I'll cover the weekend. A lot of sports stuff will happen. Some movie news might go out there. I might touch on the box office of that weekend, and if there's some cool TV stuff that happens, I'll throw some of that out there. Some of the Monday shows starting off might be previews of upcoming sporting events. You know, the Final Four is going to be next weekend. MLB opening day is about a week and a half away. NHL and NBA playoffs are about to start, and of course there's the NFL draft. I like talking the NFL draft. I know a lot of people who think that the NFL tries to monopolize sports talk, but hey, I like the NFL draft. I'll talk about it. I've been talking a little bit about video games. One thing I'll do on video games is I'm on Twitch at twitch.tv/B_minus, and I spell minus with a 1 instead of the I, just to be a little unique so you can find me a little easier. MLB The Show 16 is coming out Tuesday. I'm really excited for that game. I'm gonna probably stream that every day that I play it. I won't play it every day because I have work, but every time I jump on MLB The Show, I'll be streaming it. Usually when I get the game, I just go right to Road to the Show to try and build a show character. That's probably going to be a lot of early streams, but there's a lot of cool Diamond Dynasty modes. They built some single-player modes that I'm really excited to play on. I've played season mode where I do fantasy drafts, and I might do a franchise just to see if I can go season to season on a franchise. I really haven't done that in a while. And they have some cool challenges, too, that I might let people watch me try and take on. But, hey, make sure you rate, like, subscribe, comment, do all that good stuff to let me know what you liked about the show. And if you didn't like the show, comment, tell me what you didn't like. I'll try and change it the next time if I kind of agree with you, because, hey, I'm a rookie at this. I like some feedback. Follow me on Twitter at B_minus. Again, minus is spelled with a 1 instead of an I, and it's B_minus_podcast. I've been Brett. I'll be back next Monday for some more B-. I'm out.